Hey everybody, welcome back to the final episode of the 2025 season for Inside the Mine. Stop number 9 on the Mississippi River out of La Crosse. We've made it. We're almost wrapped up with the season. We're finishing up in a place that I absolutely love. I love fishing the upper Mississippi River. I grew up around the Twin Cities, just south of St. Paul, and fished pool 2 a decent amount in my high school years, and then in college, and then after college I fished pools 2 through like 6 quite a bit. So the pools up from 7, 8, 9 that we fished in La Crosse. So got a lot of experience on the river itself, but the La Crosse pools I fished just a little bit, not as much as those upper ones, but it's a place that I love to go any time of the year. We're there late summer, late August. So it's a pretty standard midsummer, late summer pattern on the river for largemouth. A lot of flipping, a lot of frogging, some swim jig. Um, for me, we're sitting decent in classic points. In the I think right about the 30th spot going into this last tournament. So I felt like I needed to secure a limit each day and get back each day. So that was kind of priority number one, but sometimes that can lead you astray a little bit from, the task at hand of trying to win the tournament or make a top 10. And I kind of got sucked into that a little bit throughout this tournament of just really making sure we got a limit. Not to say I didn't try and target big ones, because I certainly did. But we had a lot of changing conditions that week. We had a bunch of rain in practice. It brought water levels up. A lot of things changed from practice to the tournament that, I had to make some adjustments. And we'll just dive right into it here. Jump in to day one down there in La Crosse on the Mississippi River. I was super fortunate to have a ton of family in town. Aunts, uncles, mom, dad, my wife, Jet, sisters were there, friends. Great to see them in the morning before each takeoff. It's always great to have a bunch of that support there for those local tournaments. We got a little bit of an idle here, and then we get to ripping down the river to our first spot. I was going to start on a sand drop with a walking bait here that I had a really good bite on in practice. 2 good bites, actually. I missed one, and then I had another one about almost 4 pounds blow up on it. And I showed up there, and the water has come up like a foot and a half from practice. And these sandy areas have just completely changed. Any of that main river current stuff where you're really relying on current seams and sand drops to position those fish, if the water comes up, it really changes things. And I had 3 areas that I stopped on first thing here, and you can see it was kind of a ghost town besides a couple smallmouth there on a Carolina rig. But I wasted about an hour and a half on those areas, unfortunately, that I really had high hopes for. And it's just the way it goes. The river changes a lot. It comes up, within a couple days, and you really got to be on your toes. And avoided those sandy areas, or I guess not avoided, but left those sandy areas really kind of quickly, and had to adjust and really relocate a bunch of stuff in these backwaters that really changed from practice. I finally get a bite here, and it's already like 9:30. We take off at 7. Got my first one on a frog there. And ironically, this is in an area that I caught some fish in 3-4 years ago when the water was high. And I practiced in here when the water was lower and had like 1 bite. And it was kind of, void of much life. But I decided to go back to it in the tournament, even though it wasn't very good in practice, just because that water had come up, and I knew kind of the potential of this area when the water comes up. And
it's like you just wait until you feel them.
Yeah, it's like that was like he did not blow up on it.
Fortunately, there were some fish back there. You can hear me talking to my marshal. These fish are not super aggressive to start the day, which often can be the case when you're throwing a frog on these mats. It seems like the later into the day it gets, the better that frog bite gets. Here I miss one on a frog. Have a punch rig set up. It's a 3/4 ounce weight, 4/0 straight shank VMC redline hook, and a creature bait. You always got to have a punch rig ready to go when you're fishing a frog. Throw right back in there where I missed that one. And actually end up getting my best bite of the day. That was a 3-pounder. And that little corner of that mat was my best area in the whole tournament, turns out. And we'll kind of see it throughout the next couple days here. But I really hunker in when I start getting bites in these mats. You know, the raptors go down and I'm cutting these and slicing these mats ever so slightly with a frog. I just missed another one there. Had him kind of come up and just kiss the frog. You didn't really get it. Pick up that punch bait again and get him on the first cast. So I think this is number 4. So we're one fish away from meeting our first goal of getting a limit each day. And making sure we don't entirely bomb out in this tournament. Back to the frog here on this one.
Yes. All right. Got our limit.
Hard part's over now. Now it's time to go have fun, right?
That's right. Got that right. That is such a relief. Another 2 1/4. Oh gosh, thank God. Got a limit.
So you can hear the relief in my reaction there of, I know I've done my job today to keep my classic hopes alive. Now it's time to upgrade, time to get some bigger fish in the boat. That's the goal anyways. And so I kind of hunker in.
Decide what to do. I want to check some other areas where I had some like 3 and 4 pound bites in practice, but it's kind of hard to leave.
You can
Say 2 pounds, 2
you can hear me waffling on what to do here. Do I stay? Do I go? You know, ultimately I decided to leave and try a different area, and try and make something else happen and kind of save that zone for day 2, knowing that I need to get another limit in the boat on day 2. And so I run a bunch of stuff here the afternoon of day 1. You know, this was an area that I fished quite a bit the last time we were there. Just small keeper is all we pulled out of there. I move up a bit. This is all in pool 8. I move up a bit into another zone, come across another angler that happens to go right where I was planning to go. That's just how it is. Sometimes we all find the same stuff.
That's where I was going. Huh? That's right where I was going.
I done caught them all. I can just tell you.
Out of that spot?
Right there.
There's a little hole in the grass there that I found several years ago, and that's right where I was headed. And unfortunately, Porosnik found it too, and that's just how it rolls. It happened to, my timing was bad there. Just pulled up a couple minutes late. He beat me to it, but looked like that was a small one anyways. He might have caught some there in the morning. But then I roll a bunch of these grass lines with a swim jig. I caught a couple 3-pounders in practice. To me, unless you find the mother lode on these grass edges, like a schooling spot, it can be real hit or miss. And so I decided to roll a bunch of it here midday. I finally get a bite, and it feels like a decent one. Of course, it's a walleye, not a largemouth. So I love fishing a swim jig on those grass lines. That was just a 3/8 ounce swim jig with a cleanup craw on the back, but it never really panned out. I did that for about an hour and a half. Then I start running some of these other little isolated patches that I shook some fish off in practice, just trying to generate a 3-pound plus bite. This particular patch I caught a 4-pounder out of in practice. I didn't shake that one off. And I had a couple other bites in the area that I did shake off. So I get in there, put the raptors down, be really thorough with a flip stick and a frog. I try a white belly frog, I try a black belly frog, I'm flipping a creature bait, just trying to be really thorough and pick this area apart, hoping that we can generate one big bite out of here. And it never happens. So it's about time for us to start working our way back. I hit a few areas nearby, flipped some willows right outside the train bridge there, just hoping for a last minute call. And trying to go the last minute, and it never really happens for us. So that's the end of day one. We had a limit. We're sitting, let me look here, look at the standings. We were 65th place, 12 pounds, 4 ounces after day one. So kind of like St. Clair, not terrible, not great. Definitely kept our classic hopes alive, so that was really important. And we're not that far out of the cut. The 50th place guy was 13 pounds 6 ounces, so you go catch a 14-15 pound bag the next day and you're right back in it, and that's very doable on the river. I always feel like a 3-pound average on the river is a good average that keeps your chances alive to cash a check. And so that's really what we needed the next day, and it's very doable out there. But day one, had to make a lot of adjustments that first hour and a half, 2 hours, and finally relocated a zone that had some good quality fish in it. But I unfortunately was a little off in terms of the exact mats that I was fishing. There were some other guys in the area that had really good weights back there in that zone, and I kind of saw where they caught them, and I had a little kind of sweet spot to myself, but there were some other really quality fish back there. So we were close to having a good day. We were just off a little bit. And a lot of times when I see that on day one, if I see where guys are catching them and I know they caught a good bag there, I'm not going to go right to that area on day two in terms of like the exact mat. I'm going to go back to where I caught my fish, but I'm not going to go fish the 20 by 20 yard mat that they were fishing. So a little bummed that I missed that. And I don't know if that area was better in practice and I just kind of didn't dial in the particular mat they were sitting under, which can be so hard on the river. Sometimes the primo mat is in such a small area, it's really easy to miss. So okay start on day one. Not great, but not terrible. We didn't totally take ourselves out of the classic, which is kind of goal number one. So let's jump into day two here. Got the family there again. Had a buddy come into town there as well, so that was great to see everybody again at the start. The Bassmaster crew is fired up on day two, cheering us all on. Appreciate everybody's support coming down for the week. So started day two, I decided to just forego all that sand and the sand drops that I fished on day one. It just didn't pan out. I didn't want to waste any time there, so I go right back to where I caught them in the best area that I had on day one, and start kind of on the edge here, working our way back, and miss one on a frog right away. And it was a little chilly in the morning, as it usually is kind of in late summer, and sometimes that frog bite can just be a little off first thing. The thing just came up and kissed it, so we picked up the flip stick, no bites. Throw back the frog again, just seeing if maybe the frog is the way to trigger that fish. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. pick up a black frog, see if color makes a difference. This is all in the same like 4 foot by 4 foot little micro mat. Finally, I'm about to leave here after messing with this thing for like 5 to 10 minutes. Flip back in there and he bites. I guess the thing you can learn from that is if you get a bite on that frog and it's in a little micro mat,
That'll keep.
good chances are that that fish is still there and it just takes a little coaxing to get them to bite. So patience paid off there.
They just kind of like just barely kiss it. Some of them would suck it under, but I had to catch my 2 best ones was exactly like that just happened. You pitch in there and you finally get it. 2 pounds.
So we're on the board. Happy with my start going back there again, knowing there's still some fish back there that are willing to bite. Keep moving down the way with the flipping stick. Get another decent bite. 2.5. That's a quality one. This is a 7.6 heavy, moderate fast St. Croix rod. It's one of the older Legend Tournament rods. It's one of my favorite kind of punching rods. A little softer, but you're throwing braid, so it kind of makes up for it. This is another one that just kissed my bait as I was reeling it up to the surface and put those raptors down and just pick that thing apart. I know that fish is in the area. I actually saw it blow up from a distance as I was working up to it. He tapped it there. You can see I finally just dead stick this thing. I don't move the bait at all after kind of messing with it a bunch. I finally just dead stick it. And he picks it up. It's not a big one, but it does give us number 3. It's just kind of another lesson of, you know, when you're punching like that and it's maybe a little chilly in the morning, don't be afraid to mess with your retrieve under that mat. If they're not eating it with you moving it a bunch, sometimes just laying it there right in their face can get them to bite. Especially on pressured fishery. You know, the river gets a lot more pressure these days than it used to. There's number 4 on the flipping stick. You can tell all these fish so far have come flipping. It's kind of chilly that morning. You know, if you are fishing matted vegetation and you got a drop in temperatures overnight, you just gotta be patient with that top water bite. You know, usually they just are a little off of it in the morning. There's another one on that same mat. That one happened to be a short. So we're still sitting on 4. Keeping with the flip stick, but the size just isn't there. And that can be a factor of those colder nights too. You know, sometimes those bigger ones are a little ornery when the temp drops in the morning and you just need to be patient. But here you can see we shed a layer. That sun's finally starting to pop out and it's warming up. And that's when you want to be on your best stuff, when that stuff starts warming up in those mats. That one came up and kissed it, and I missed that frogfish there. I figured in trying picking up the flip stick, I'm kind of at a distance away from it here, so I just decided to throw the frog back in there.
That's a good fish. Now, get that boy in the boat.
Yes. Might be going to the Bassmaster Classic. Sweet. Heck yes. All right. That is a sigh of relief right there. Oh, I think we're going to the Classic. Sweet. 2 pounds, 6 ounces.
So we'll pause for a moment there. That was my 5th fish of the tournament. day 2, so we secured a limit both days, and you can see from my expression, I think we're going to the Classic. So, 9 events in, a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, time away from home. To get that one is a huge relief, and it's something we strive for every year, is to qualify for that Classic. So that one, I kind of felt like, okay, we got that monkey off our back. Let's go try and upgrade here and try and make the cut now. So big accomplishment, but we still got some work to do. And so I worked back over to where I caught that 3-pounder the day before, kind of the corner of this mat. I get a really good bite here. And for whatever reason, that thing just pops off on the way back to the boat.
I thought so too.
I have no idea what caused that, besides the fact that if you replay it, I just don't think I really got a good hook set on it. The boat was kind of moving towards that fish as he bit. So I'm moving towards it. There's maybe a little bit of slack in my line when I set on that fish. And I just don't think I got a good connection. But that was a 3, if not a 4-pound bite. It was a quality fish right where I caught my big one the day before, and that one really stung because I wasn't getting many 3-pound plus bites. But we throw right back into that little zone, and there seems to be a school of them sitting under there.
No way.
That one misses it.
Same blowhole.
That one didn't feel as big.
Did you scratch the second one?
I didn't feel him. No, he might bite again.
And this may or may not be the same fish.
No, I don't think so either.
Gosh.
Dude, you might have just found the sweet spot.
That one.
Missed that one too. Those last 2 might have been the same fish, might have been different ones. That little spot had my number for that 10-minute stretch there. So I kind of curl around the corner of this area and work back through some stuff that I had some bites in practice, just to kind of let that area rest back there. There was one other angler back there with me in the morning, same one from day 1, and he was catching them in that one mat that I kind of told him that I'd leave alone. And I just wanted to let my little zone rest. So I run around. You can see I got a little keeper upgrade there. It was like a 2-pounder. And then I start running a bunch of new water. A lot of my stuff that I ran on day 1 that was not back in that little zone did not pan out. So I just start running new water while I'm let that area rest. And I'm getting some bites here. They're just not helping. But I'm just hoping I can run into that magic zone where I can get a couple 3 and maybe a 4-pound bite. I try and switch it up here. I fished some cut bank for a while. I hadn't really done that much on day 1. And I figured since I had a limit, I'd go give that a shot. Get a little smallie flipping there. That one ended up being just about a 2-pounder, so it didn't really help us much. And I know some guys were catching them on cut bank and having some good weights, so I put some time in doing it on day 2. But I wasn't dialed in with this. I didn't have the stretches dialed in. I was just kind of running by the seat of my pants here, trying to make something happen while I let that backwater rest. And the reason I'm letting it rest is a lot of times the last 2 hours of the day, of the tournament day, can be the best in those mats for a bigger quality bite. And I've seen that happen time and time again on the river. And so I was just giving it some rest before we get back in here now. And when we get back in here, we get some bites right away in that same exact zone. So these fish have been here the whole time, but a lot of times you give them some rest, they reset up.
That's gonna help.
And you can generally go back and get some more bites.
Bigger at first. Let's see, another 2 pounds, 6 ounces.
So a decent little upgrade there, almost 2.5, but not what we need to really get inside that cut.
Stay on.
Unfortunately, these are just not the kind we need. Meanwhile, there's a different angler sitting on that other mat I was describing to you guys in this backwater that had some quality fish in it. And come to find out, he caught like
It's like this
18 pounds off of that mat in the last hour and a half, and he's within eyesight of me right now. It's kind of hard to see in the video. So we were close. We were close. It was a good area. I just didn't have the right little mat dialed in. So for the last hour here, I run a new area, get a blow up on a frog. It looked like a really big one, so I pick up the punching rod here, pitch right back in there. Get a fun bite, but not a bite that's gonna help us. You know, it's always fun when you're punching like that, but
He's not gonna help.
not gonna help us.
Nice job.
Thank you. I had fun. Happy I think we made the classic, which is a big deal.
So time to rip back. I was telling my marshal I was happy. I think we did enough to make the classic, but probably not going to make the cut. Had some friends and family there to help bag up my fish with me, which was always cool. It's always fun to get the kids involved if you're bagging up your fish. And on to the weigh-in we go, and that's a wrap for day 2. Let's see where we finished up here. We had a little bit better weight on day 2. 13 pounds, 1 ounce, finished in 61st. So we missed the cut. We didn't completely bomb. Happy to say we did enough to make the Bassmaster Classic, which is great. We finished 34th in the AOI for the season. This tournament was very fun. I got to catch them on a frog and flipping primarily. If I had to do 2 things the rest of my life to catch bass and have fun, that's probably the 2 things I'd be doing. So I was right in my comfort zone. I love doing that. I feel like I have an eye for like what these little zones look like on the river that are productive, and usually it's kind of some isolated mats, some sandy clear areas around it if you got a little bit of flow and clear water in that area too, bait fish, and that area had it, but I was a little off. There was some other mats not far away, a couple 100 yards away, that produced 3 or 4 16 to 18 pound bags by a couple guys. So unfortunately, I missed that deal, but that's just how it goes. You know, oftentimes we're so close, but yet so far away in these tournaments. But had a lot of fun. You know, bunch of family there. We had a rental house for the week. We got to have a bunch of great dinners and some quality time with friends and family that I don't get to see all that often. So that was great. Ultimately, you know, accomplished our goal of making the Bassmaster Classic. And we're going to Knoxville next year. I do enjoy that place, even though it can be kind of tough. But yeah, that's a wrap on the season. I appreciate you guys tuning in and following along this year. For those of you that have stuck through it with me, look for another video soon. I'm going to do a little kind of a recap video and try and get some opinions on what we can do different for next year. Do you guys like this format? Do you not like this format? What can we change? So keep an eye out for that, but I appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again next season for another season of Inside the Mine. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.